You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Friday, February 21st. I told you guys I was going to be doing a weekly show in the off season with my guy, Wayne Breezy. So excited to have him on in the off season. How you doing, man?
I didn't even know I was muted. I'm doing good. I was sitting there vibing to the intro music, but I'm doing good. It's good to see you. Haven't seen you since the Senior Bowl. And we got a lot of stuff to get down to, man. The Combine kicks off next week, and we got a lot of prospects to put out there for the faithful to look at.
Oh, man, I'm so excited for the Combine. And for those of you that don't know, I've mentioned it before. I'm not going this year. I totally wish I was. I'm going to be out of town, but I'm bringing my laptop with me because I'm like, I need to be updating my draft sheet. You know, there's going to be so many reports of who the 49ers are meeting with, and it's going to be a very exciting week. Also, there's rumblings that Kyle Shanahan is likely to go, according to Matt Barrows. He did say it's not set in stone, all right? So, take that for what it is, but he did say it's likely, right? So the fact that it wasn't a deep playoff run for the 49ers. The fact that they only won 6 games, last year. The fact that they have a top 15 pick. All that is a recipe for Kyle Shanahan to probably want to be at the Combine, and it gives it more value. So I'd be stoked if he goes out there, honestly, because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting prospects. I would like Kyle to be part of the interviewing process with some of these guys too. So I think it's going to be exciting. But you know what else is exciting, Wayne? The fact that the business is booming with the NFL. And there we go. I love that. So the NFL, according to Dan Graziano, informed teams that the 2025 per team salary cap will fall in the range of $277.5 million to $281.5 million. Way up from last year's $255.4 million. So that's a huge jump. And as expected, like the cap is just going to continue to go up each and every year. And so this is good news for every team, with the 49ers as well, that are particularly, strapped for cash with some of the guys that they're already paying. So with this new salary cap figure, according to Over the Cap, the 49ers are now at $50,656,301 in available cap for 2025. So that sounds all good and dandy. But it doesn't just stop there, because I saw this post as well from Brett Coleman, and it's a really long tweet. But basically what he's saying is that there's going to be better numbers around how Nielsen measures ratings, TV ratings. So what that means is that when the NFL is negotiating its next broadcasting rights, which is going to be happening in 2028, 2029, that number is probably going to be astronomical. Like, the cap will explode even more than it is now. So that's something to keep in mind, and something that I think NFL teams will be in the back of their minds as well when they're thinking about new deals. Brock Purdy, for example, you can backload a lot of those contracts, which the 49ers already do. But this is great. How do you feel like this impacts free agency for the 49ers, Wayne?
I mean, it just gives them a little bit, more of an open mind and open market on what they can, spend. Will they be big spenders in free agency? I don't know if they'll spend big on one particular player, but they might just spend big. They know that Super Bowl window is still open. This gives them a little bit more breathing room. They'll restructure several deals. A couple of guys that are top cap hits this year. George Kittle will probably get an extension. Fred Warner may get another restructure or whatnot, which will lower that number under the cap even more. And I think they look to really, I would say, reload and rebuild in the draft, but reload and free agency, and they tried that. They tried last year. They try every year, but last year, they got some specific players out there, getting Leonard Floyd and Yetur Gross-Matos. I thought were some key free agents to help the pass rush. But maybe there's a cornerback, maybe there's a safety, maybe there's another wide receiver. Who knows? But the Niners will have the spending power to do so. And you talked about backloading. That's what we do here in San Francisco. And it kind of, even though it seems like we always end up with some type of dead cat money, it doesn't really seem to affect the 49ers as we think that it's going to affect them. You know what I mean? It might affect them 10 years from now, 20 years from now, but as of right now, they're trying to win a Super Bowl. So I think they remain big spenders in free agency, and possibly they might be able to offer Dre Greenlaw, just depending on what the market is offering him, they may be able to match that.
So my thing is with Greenlaw, you can't let him go to free agency. Like, because if he does, he's not coming back. Like, I think that there's going to be another team that's going to be able to offer him more, not just from the money standpoint, but hey, you could be our Mike linebacker, right? Which, there's been indications that that's what Greenlaw wants. So they better make that decision soon if they're going to make that decision on Greenlaw. But yeah, I mean, I think it's looking likely that those guys are maybe a long shot to come back. But even still, I'm all on board for the 49ers to be all in on this 2025 season. I think when I heard, Myles Garrett requesting his trade, I was like, let's just go for it. You worry about the rest later. And so I'm seeing the beat writers, though, mention that maybe the 49ers aren't going to make a splash signing in the offseason. So I'm tempering my expectations as well. I think they'll go for a lot of tier 2, tier 3 free agents. And hey, that's fine, because I think that'll still put them in a position to, potentially go best player available in the draft if they're able to fill certain holes in free agency. So they're pretty good about doing that. So that's what I'm expecting. But going back to, the combine and just what to expect out of that week, Wayne, is not just about, the prospects that are there, although, of course, that is exciting for all of us too. But this is where we get the meeting of the minds, all these different scouts, GMs, agents that are going to be, talking to each other while they're out there. I think that's a big thing. And, according to Jeremy Fowler, there's already some teams that are interested in Deebo Samuel. And that, I think, is where we'll potentially really get the ball rolling with Deebo. And here, let me just throw up his quote up here. He said, "I was told that several teams have expressed interest, so at least preliminary talks on a potential trade have happened between Samuel, his agent, and the team." And I think it kind of has to happen around the combine where they get something decided, because they have to make this decision by March 22nd. That's kind of the soft deadline, right? Because that's where he gets his bonus. It's obviously before the draft. What do you think? Something gets done before the draft? How are you feeling about that?
I think it's complicated. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's Deebo Samuel. He's coming off a declining season. He's requesting the trade. It seems like both parties are looking for a way out. I don't think the 49ers just settle. I don't think it's that bad of a relationship where they're just like, get rid of them and we'll just settle. I mean, if you're going to just settle, then what are teams willing to offer? And I think that's what it comes down to. And, I think the 49ers value Deebo a little bit higher than I think the fans value Deebo. But whatever his worth is, I mean, if it's a 5th round pick, 6th round pick, is that enough to move Deebo Samuel? On that last year of his deal, I honestly don't know. If I'm a team, I wouldn't trade for him. I would see what this combine holds with these guys. I want to see what's going to happen, what's going to manifest from the players, the wide receivers that we're about to watch and witness. And if they do well, I think even if those deals are those preliminary deals are discussed, they're kind of made, I could see teams going back on, hey man, I think we're just going to take our shot on one of these rookies in the NFL. So for the 49ers, I just feel like Deebo it's going to be two choices. Either he's going to remain here in San Francisco or they're going to cut him. And he'll be a free agent. That's my thing. I don't think he'll be traded.
In either of those scenarios, I mean, there's a dead cap hit, right?
For sure.
For the
The
49ers.
Niners
So
have
like
to play. Yeah.
they're not going to get around that. So
Right.
And as Invader is asking here, is a 5th round pick worth eating the 31 million? Well, it's certainly better than, having to pay the dead cap hit
Plus
and
the contract,
and
right?
and not having a pick in return.
Right.
So I think the 49ers should, I'm gonna just say it, settle for whatever they can get for Debo at this point, right? He was a trade candidate last offseason. You decided to not get it done then. Not only that, you restructured his contract, so you kind of put yourself in this situation
For sure.
And so now you just kind of lay in
gotta
the bed
eat
that
it.
you made. Yep,
Yeah.
you gotta eat it. So yeah, that's what I'm expecting. But I'm with you. Like, it's not shocking that teams are interested, right? But interest is nothing more than calling in and saying, hey,
Mhm.
like, what's it gonna take to make this happen? Like, just teams checking in. So
Facts.
it's not surprising that there's other teams interested. There's teams like the Steelers. That's a name that keeps coming up. But that doesn't mean that they're going to make a trade. And I think because you're looking at this draft class, and the Niners, as we've been saying, have to make this choice before March 22nd, before the draft. And teams aren't going to want to do that. Teams would be willing to make a trade on draft night, on whatever day. I think day 3, right? That's what we're thinking. That's when teams would start making you an offer when they see what's left on the board. But when guys are available, and again, like you mentioned, the combine is going to raise some guys' stocks. So some guys that they're already interested in probably going to look even better at the combine, and they're going to be like, oh, we could get that player instead of Debo. Like, so why would we trade for Debo? I think that's what it's going to come down to ultimately. I agree. I think this will end up in Debo ultimately getting released and, picking where he gets to go.
Which, yeah, and that's what that's what he wants, right? He wants to be free. He wants to be able to control the narrative, control the situation, control kind of where he goes. So he's really putting the ball on the 49ers. They have to make the decision by March 22nd, not Debo Samuel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And listen, the fan base already can't stand him. So at this point, Debo, good luck. Like wherever you go, man. Like I understand what's going on business wise, but it's kind of hard for some to separate the business from the game. And this is all business. This is nothing personal, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, I think it's time, right? It's a it's a mutual. Well, I don't know if it's so much a mutual agreement, right? He's the one that requested the trade, but I think both sides can agree that maybe it was time for them to move on, and there's no hard feelings in that.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. 29-year-old wide receiver struggles in creating separation. Looks like the offense is shifting. They're not going with the quick throw, quick get the ball to the guy. You're seeing yak, but the yak's coming from balls thrown down the field, right? We're like one of the top teams in explosive plays. So we go from explosive plays down the field, 20-yard throws down the field post to the 1-yard screen routes. That's Debo's game. There's a team that wants that. There's a team that will utilize that, and Debo will be right back at the top rankings of being a wide receiver, and the San Francisco 49er fan base would be like, why couldn't he do that for us? Well, we changed the offense. Like we're literally changing the offense.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important for people to know. And quite frankly, I mean, 49er fans have been a little harsh since all this news has come out. So even if Debo has a good year last year, like they'll probably still be pissed.
Oh yeah,
because they'll be like, "Why couldn't you do this
that
last
for us?"
year?
That's it. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, not that we would have won more games because the team was just ass. I'm sorry, like our offense was terrible. Like our offense was good at moving the ball, but in situational football, they were damn near last in the league. We couldn't score. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I'm not saying Debo was he would have solved all the offensive problems, but no. What's the biggest need on the offense? Offensive line, right? So obviously that's a bigger problem than Debo Samuel. Debo just would have gave us, possibly or potentially, a few more points scored, in my opinion. Don't know if we would have won some more games.
No,
Don't know if that was in the plans.
yeah, I don't think so. And yeah, and Vader, if the 49ers do release him and make it a June 1st, post June 1st designation, they do get to spread out that cap hit that we're talking about
Yeah.
over 2 years, which would, again, like make it a win-win for the 49ers in that case if they do release him. So like there's pros and cons, I think, to both options. But yeah, ultimately, I do still think releasing him is going to be the likely scenario. And yeah, Kyle is going to be attending or likely attending the combine this year per Matt Barrows. Likely is what he said. He also said not set in stone. So take that for what
I think he'll be there though, right? Like think about it.
Yeah.
Like you kind of laid out the preface. I mean, look at our team. Our team wasn't a winning team last year. We addressed the coaching situation. Kyle spent the majority of the end of the season finding the right coaches, got the right defensive coordinator, got the new special teams coach. All that set in stone. Last year we were trying to find a defensive coordinator. We were trying to find this. We were trying to find like the past several years.
There was
like,
so much going on.
There's so much going on. So he took the precedent of making sure he got his coaches up to par, opposed to attending the Senior Bowl. He trusted the agents. He trusted, the scouts. He trusted John Lynch and things like that. But, this year I think all that stuff is set in stone. I would love to see Kyle Shanahan there. I think the last time he did attend was when we drafted Trey Lance, right? I think that was the last time he attended the combine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. He hasn't gone for the last 3. And yeah, the last one was that time they had the top 3 pick. So yeah, I think it's a good time for him to get back into it. And I would not be shocked if Robert Saleh goes as well. Like it's not often that like assistant coaches go, DCs go, but I think this could be one of those years where they do make it out there as well, especially when I believe they're going to have a huge emphasis on the defense in this draft. So I think Saleh is going to want to see some of these guys up close, see what he could do to improve this 49ers defense. That's for sure. But as far as also like just talking about the combine, is there anyone specifically that you're like really looking forward to seeing, or just someone that you think is going to be able to raise their stock a lot?
Yeah, I got a couple of sleepers. I really liked what I saw from the running back Marcus Yarns out of Delaware, and I know for a fact Bobby Turner will get a guy. Like I don't know if it'll be drafted or undrafted, it all depends. But I would like to see what he does. We already watched him like in living color at the Senior Bowl. We know he's uncoverable. You can't defend him out of the backfield. The guy gets open. The guy can catch. But can he run in between the tackles? That would be something, you have to watch the tape for. But I think he'll be a big playmaker, and I think his stock will rise. As far as what the 49ers need, like the draft needs, obviously we know we want to go offensive line, defensive tackle, things like that. But I do want to see Armand Mimbu. I really want to see. We didn't get a chance to see him at the Senior Bowl. He screams 49ers on tape. If you watch the film, he's like, that's the guy. You could kick him in the guard. You can play right tackle. I understand that his height. I understand he's a little bit shorter. What is he, 6'3"? We don't know his official height and weight is as of right now until the combine stuff is released. But the kid has like 34.5-inch arms. Please, this kid can play tackle. He can play on the right side. But we didn't get a chance to see him. He was ill, so he was sick, and he didn't participate in the Senior Bowl. And I guarantee you, even though we watched Gray Zabel's stock rise, it would have been all eyes on Armand Mimbu. So I'm excited to watch him. I think offensively he's the guy, and I always find somebody like defensively that I just really fall in love with. And people are going to get tired of me talking about David Walker, edge rusher out of Central Arkansas. But listen, don't sleep on the little 6'2", 260-pound firecracker, actually cherry bomb out of the on the defensive side of the ball. I think he's going to have a tremendous Senior Bowl. I hope he runs well. We saw him. I don't know. We saw him. We saw his speed, but it doesn't seem that fast. But man, he lived at the quarterback. So I'm just, I can't wait to see him run. Can't wait to see him test. I think those are a couple of guys I'm definitely high on.
Now, one thing that I found interesting was that Daniel Jeremiah, he had like that annual conference call that he does with media, prior to the draft. I think he might do a couple of them, but he was asked about the Niners and what would be like a dream scenario for them, in which, he said that, here, let me see if I can put the slide up. He said that Mason Graham could be an option for the 49ers. And I know you would probably like that.
I mean, listen,
Michigan guy.
all I kept saying is it has to be Graham. It has to be Graham. Like there's 3 players, Steph, in this draft that are the ones you know, day one, they're your golden tickets. 3. I only got 3. I don't know about you, but I got 3 players. That's Mason Graham, Travis Hunter. Who's my third one? Oh, Abdul Carter. Those are my 3 golden tickets. You get one of them, you can literally coast. But we're not picking 1, 2, or 3, and you're hoping Graham will slide. Now, in my official mock draft, my full 32 team mock draft, Mason Graham fell to 11. Other teams went other ways, and what I thought that they would go. But you can say I probably kind of tried to set that up, but I didn't. I really addressed needs of other teams. There's ways that it all comes down to who's drafting these quarterbacks, who's reaching up, who's going to trade up, who's going to do this. So there's a possibility. It's very slim to none. Like very slim that he can fall to 11. But if I'm the 49ers, and I know everybody wants picks, but if I'm the Niners, I want one of those top 3 golden tickets. And if you got to trade up to get a guy like Mason Green, you got to have to trade up to 4 because you got to get in front of Jacksonville, and the Patriots may take him too, so maybe you might lose him. You got to trade up if you're going to get him. I highly doubt that he falls, but you can get Walter Nolan. That's my number 2.
Yeah, Nolan. I love Nolan. So first, like on the Graham thing, Daniel Jeremiah cites that Mason Graham may not do so well in testing, and that could be a reason for him falling. So I do think he's going to be at the combine, right? So
he's going to be there. He's not going to test off the charts.
And sometimes some players just say like, I'm not even going to test, or I'm not going to do this because I know I know it might hurt my stock, so I'm not going to do that. I'll do this and that.
He'll do the bench press, but people aren't going to be impressed how much he can bench. They're expecting that, right?
Yeah, he could be strategic, so that his draft stock doesn't fall too much. But in the event that it does, right, between this and possibly pro day, if he even does that, you could see him slip out of the top 10. I still think that's a long shot, but if that does happen, like I do think, that'd be a good value pick for the 49ers, just given the fact that, he's seen as one of these top 5 guys. But he also mentions if that doesn't happen, Walter Nolan, would be a perfect scheme or great scheme fit under defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. Is what he said.
Come on, Steph. We were there. We watched him dominate. I mean, we saw him get injured, didn't return. Talked to him at the press day. Then he came back the 3rd day, dominated again. Didn't play in the game. He didn't have to. Didn't need to.
Didn't have to. Yeah.
He was dominant. But you watch him on film. There are times on film where it seems like not that he's taking plays off, but and not that he gets beat. It's just he gets redirected a certain way. But then he fixes it. Like he comes back, same game, realizes what they were doing. It's almost like you ever play baseball and you're a power hitter, but you're going to take the first couple, you're going to take a pitch or two. I feel like that's how Walter Nolan plays. Like he takes a play or two, sees how they're going to play him, readjusts, and then knocks it out of the park. Right? That's Walter Nolan. And so I really would love him here. I think he'd be a perfect fit for what Robert Saleh's trying to do, especially in this wide 9. We're talking about a guy that just has several moves, really dangerous hands. His get off, it's all about the get off, right? That quick first step. Yeah, it's Walter Nolan. I got 5 guys that I feel like has that quick first step from the interior. But what separates Graham is his ability and cognitive ability to just understand football. Like he's not getting beat. He's not taking that play off. He's not looking to adjust. He's coming out to be dominant from play one, whether it's against stopping the run or whether if he has to pass rush. I mean, you want the perfect pass rushing, run stuffing combo guy, it's Graham. That's why I feel like he's going to be higher. If he chooses to not test or whatever, does it hurt his draft stock? Yeah, but you got some teams that are probably not going to pass up. I mean, you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, you want to get that guy in there in the middle. I feel like they should go edge and pair up an edge with Josh Hines Allen, but they'll probably go interior. Eric Armstead is he's gonna need some help, and I think Calais Campbell is retiring, right? So like, it's gonna be interesting to watch.
Interesting enough, when I watched Mason Graham, I wasn't as high on him as I think other people have been. Like I knew he was seen as like a top guy when I watched him. And I was just like, I don't know if I see that. I honestly did like Walter Nolan more than Mason Graham, especially just for like fit for the 49ers.
Hmm.
And I'm starting to see other people like feel the same way. So then I know I'm not crazy, right? Like because I haven't been doing this like I'm not a scout or anything, and I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm that good at evaluating players. Still new at it, but it was a little validating to see that. So that's my personal take, though. But at the same time, if he gets to 11, then I see that as a value pick, right? So then I'm
Correct.
like, okay,
You
yeah,
have to
I
go.
think you
You have
have
to
to
go
go
Graham.
for
You
it.
have
Yeah,
to go
yeah.
Graham. Yeah. If he
So
falls to 11, yeah.
yeah, so I agree in that case, but Nolan obviously would be a great pick for the 49ers as well in the first round. And who you were just talking about, Membao, like I am so in on if the 49ers want to go offensive lineman, if they like Membao, why not take him at 11? Like you could reach for him a little bit, but if that's the guy you want and you feel good about him and you feel he could be an instant starter, which I think he could, right? Like you said, he could play guard. He could play guard until any one of those tackle spots open up. Like that's another option, I think, for the Niners. So I'm excited to see how he looks at the combine as well. Really excited to see like just who raises their stock. It's going to be really exciting to see. And so now to kind of pivot to what I like to call the 49K draft club. All right. I talked about this last week, introducing this new segment for the draft. It's kind of like a book club, but for the draft. So last week I gave you guys a couple of names, couple guys to watch. I don't know if you guys watched them, but I recommended Jalen Walker out of Georgia and Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. So if you guys watch those guys, you might have seen the vision, right? You might have seen like what I was seeing and why I'm so intrigued by these guys. First of all, it's a very deep defensive tackle class. So Jamari Caldwell, I think, would be incredible value. Like I'm seeing people talk about him as like a late day two kind of guy potentially, right? And I'm like, this guy jumps off the tape. Like he looks so good to me. He has that explosiveness. And so I was really excited to watch him and the potential of him being like a later round guy that the 49ers could pick up. And then Jalen Walker, intrigued by him being like that hybrid, right? Of linebacker and edge. When you watch those guys, like what has kind of stood out to you, Wayne?
I mean, to start with the Georgia kid, Jalen Walker. I mean, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that can rush the passer because that he can play edge. He's big out there. He's great at stopping the run. Like that's what he does. Off ball linebacker type of a guy. I like him. I like him a lot. He's not my number one linebacker. He's actually my number two linebacker in this draft. I really like Jahad Campbell out of Alabama, so I would love for you to check him out, or maybe we can get the draft club to check him out. But love Jalen Walker. Think we would be a great fit. He's probably going to be the first linebacker to go, but I don't think the 49ers address linebacker that early. And but a stud. I'm not going to front. As far as Jamari Caldwell, listen, I was asking you at the Senior Bowl, who's this big guy moving mountains? And we were trying to figure out because Oregon wore 7 different helmets. And so we were like, is that an Oregon player? And so it was Jamari Caldwell. And it was this big kid moving the offensive line. I mean, moving them in the 11 on 11 sessions when they were actually out there hitting and playing, right? I think he is a big run stuffing DT. Like that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get the crazy pass rush from him, but he's going to create pressures up front. And that's what you want, right? You want that pressure. You want the quarterback to be a little disentangled and all that type of stuff. That's what he does. And he's a monster. I'm curious to see how well he tests this week, though. Will he have that burst? Will his drills stand out? Does he have agility? How quick does Does he run the 10-yard split? Things like that. Can he chase down, these running backs and stuff, coming out of the backfield? But I think his draft stock will rise after the NFL Combine, and the kid may just be a day 2 pick. And it's crazy because this is the deepest defensive tackle draft we've seen in a very, very
Yeah.
long time. I got a crazy theory for you, right? And I just want to get your take on this. I was sitting at the gym this morning and I was, going through my notes during my, breaks during sets, and I was saying to myself, what if the 49ers, what if Will Johnson, right, was available at 11? And you look at your draft board and you say, wait a minute, he's the best cornerback on the board. What if the Niners went that route in the first round and locked in the future of their secondary with Renardo Green, Will Johnson? You still got Deommodore Lenoir. We know how things work out. But that will be crazy. And then they still addressed the offensive line, the interior defense, edge. You still have time to address that later on in the draft because it's so deep. Would that be a crazy theory? Because I'm saying to myself, if Will Johnson is there, they will have a lockdown corner on the outside. I can't wait to see how well he runs because I know his tape wasn't much because he was injured. But that would be a crazy scenario. I think they would go best player available, especially how, if they address certain key positions in free agency.
So that one is intriguing to me, right? Because I was starting to see Will Johnson mocked to the 49ers a couple of times. And then as of late, I feel like I've seen that more. So I'm like, okay, like this is certainly a possibility. I have stood on the fact that I think the 49ers go defensive player in the first round. Like I still believe that. And why not corner? Right? Why not corner? If he's the guy that's available there and that's the best defensive player available at that moment, why not go corner? Let's just say, I don't think this will happen, but let's just say Walter Nolan gets picked before 11, right? And but the best defensive player would then be Will Johnson. So, I mean, I could see it, especially because Saleh just came from the Jets, who had that shutdown number one corner type, right? So he got a taste of that.
Talk about Sauce Gardner. Exactly.
He got a taste of that.
Exactly.
So it's just possible. And I agree. Like, historically, this regime has not invested in corners early.
That's a problem, though. That could be somewhat of a problem because now you're looking for guys to develop that you're drafting later. But I'm telling you, when the talent is there and you have the opportunity to draft, hear me out. Last year, my number one corner was Quinyon Mitchell. He went from Toledo.
Yeah, I like
his
him.
draft stock rose after the Senior Bowl, and then it soared through the roof after the Combine. He went from probably being from Toledo. He went from probably being a day 2, day 3 guy to day 1. Now he's a Super Bowl champion. And so, what can Will Johnson do? He can do that. He's that guy. And so people are like, well, am I sure? I see the things out here. Am I sure he's not Mike? No, I mean, you have to watch. You have to watch the games he actually played. Go back to the 2023 season when the defense was full and he wasn't as injured or whatever. He dealt with a nagging toe injury this past season, and it probably hurt him. Now, if he clears medicals, this is all if players clear their medicals and they don't have these injuries. I don't want any injured players. Let me be clear. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they change the philosophy. We're talking about a premium position. Cornerbacks, defensive ends, and quarterbacks are those, and left tackles, those tackles. Those are the positions that are paid literally the most in the NFL. The Niners can reset the market there, right? They drafted one in the second round. They get another one in the first round. They get a 5-year contract on him, and they can let him pan out. Don't let Ambry Thomas deter you away from who Will Johnson is. Totally two different players. I know that's how we think.
Or just any other Michigan.
I know that's how we think. You know what I mean? See? No more Michigan guys. I got you.
I'm kind of on that too, though.
Hey.
Like, just a little bit. I'm like,
hey, we're talking about a guy that just knows how to get pick sixes and doesn't give up a lot of catches. Like that's different, right? A little different.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, we're seeing different, opinions on
Uh,
corners
J-
in the
Jade
chat
Barron,
too.
yeah,
Jade
Jade
Barron,
Barron,
I've
yeah.
I've heard good things about. Haven't gotten around to watching him yet.
Physical, versatile corner.
Love
Can
that.
play the big nickel if you need him to be. He's violent. Like, is that if that's the mindset? That's the mindset.
Yeah, that's what they're looking
Definitely.
for.
Yeah,
Yeah,
PBUs. Yeah,
and Azariah Thomas,
that's another one of my top five.
who we
Yeah,
saw, he was
yeah.
a dog. Kobe
They shut him
Bryant. I
down.
mean, man,
They shut him down. He was like, "Hey man, you too good." Matter of fact, one of the wide receivers you interviewed, Jalen Noel, out of Iowa State, told you like, "Oh, I had to go up against this guy." Like, you know what
yeah.
I mean? And yo, he's a problem. It's a problem.
He is. I think there's going to be some like really intriguing like corner guys. Kobe Bryant is one of mine that I think
Like
you
him.
can
No,
get him later in the
yeah.
draft as
Noel
well.
Williams too
So
from Cal.
Noel,
Yeah.
yes. I think there's going to be some nice options for them. Tanisha here says Brad Graham just reported that Brandon Staley is now Saints defensive coordinator.
Yeah. Hey
Good for
man.
him.
Congrats.
Good for him. My
Don't
day
let
has
the
not
door
changed
knob
one bit.
hit you
Yeah.
with a good long split you.
My day is unchanged by that news. also by the news that John Feliciano has retired. Although he, when he played, he did some good things for us. So
Yeah.
riding off in the sunset for.
But he also said if the Niners or the Bills are looking to make a playoff run and they need a offensive lineman, he'll be available. He did make that mention in his retirement.
Semi-retired. It's always nice when guys put that out there, right? Like, just give me a call. Just give me a call. All right. So now let's get to the list of guys from. Wait a second here. Where is my damn slide? All right. So I got my slides out of order. All right. So these were the guys that last week.
Okay.
Some of the names I had to condense the list because you guys gave me a lot of names, and I only have so much time. But these are the guys that I did watch this week. So I watched Charles Grant from William Mary, Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee, TJ Sanders from South Carolina, Wyatt Millum from West Virginia, and then Evan Mitchell from Notre Dame. All right, so I try to find 2 offensive linemen, 2 defensive linemen, and then I did Evan Mitchell, and then I have a bonus, receiver as well. We'll talk about because that brings a whole nother conversation. But I love Charles Grant. I loved Charles Grant watching him, and I'll turn off that music because it was a weird. Had some weird classical music behind this one, but. Yeah, so Charles Grant, I really liked. His strength to me is run blocking. And I don't know if he's going to be more of a guard or if he'll stay at tackle in the NFL. That's always that discussion, right? That with every tackle, I feel like happens. But regardless, I think he's going to be really strong at the next level. He's a lane creator, right? He creates lanes, and I like the way that he positions his body to wall off defenders. Former wrestler, he just started playing football as a high school junior. He's listed 6'4", 290 pounds, 35-inch arms, pretty fast 10-yard split, 1.44. So I like Charles Grant as a later round value pick for the 49ers potentially.
Yeah, he's pretty solid, especially like you said in the run game. Been kind of high on this kid, honestly. I know he's not talked about a lot. I mean, he went to a smaller school, so the question is going to come down to how will he measure up against the premier talent in the NFL. I mean, that's to be seen. But like you said, man, if you draft him, definitely, I would say, rounds 5 later. If you can get him in one of those rounds and get him in the right system and get him out there, he'd be definitely good in his own blocking schemes, in my opinion. That's where his strength is, getting outside and creating those lanes, like you said. And I do like the kid. I'm not going to stunt. I do like the kid. Definitely have been looking at him. And I like that you got these little film clip ups of the kid. He's pretty much he's going to be dominant on a team that knows how to utilize him right, utilize his strengths. I can't wait to see how he measures. I think he's going to be at the combine, so I can't wait to see his measurables and how he measures. If you said his 10-yard split was 1.44, I need to see that. I need to see him do it at the combine because
he is going to be at the combine.
If it's anything that high, he's getting drafted, the 3rd round. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So this is what we're saying, right? It's combine, great opportunity for these smaller school guys to, really show that they have the athleticism, and it's not just the tape, right? It'll translate to the NFL as well. So yeah, I see him as one of those guys. And as far as the next guy, Omar Norman Lott, man, I really enjoyed watching him, man. This is just the type. This is the type of defensive tackle that
he's just gritty. He's gritty with power. But we got a chance to see that. So being at the Senior Bowl, we got to see some of these guys, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing you got from him was pop, 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 like power, right? And so like that's what I get. So you show me that and you're winning, I'm good. You're winning in your one-on-ones and you're winning when it's 11 on 11. Sign me up. Now, how well will he play against the run? That's something that we'll have to kind of like figure out. But as a pass rushing DT, he's a guy.
Yeah, as you can see, like he's not a space eater, right? He's one of those like smaller, more slender defensive tackles, but he's quick, Sanders, right? Yeah. Like you get that speed from him. He's got a quick get off and first step. He keeps his feet moving, which I think is you have to be able to do if you're an interior defensive lineman. He will challenge the interior of an offensive line from snap to whistle. Like he has a lot of, I think, drive, high motor is what they say, right? So I think he's one of those guys. He will. What I also like, too, is that he chases down plays beyond the line of scrimmage, which you don't always see for defensive tackles because they are usually those bigger guys, right? But he will get after it. And so I think for someone who plays like with his hair on fire, like that's Norman Lott from what I was able to see. And that's the kind of player that I think this defense needs, like just everyone who plays with their hair on fire.
Yeah, I wonder, like comparing him to Malik Collins, I feel like they're kind of like the same player, though, right? Because I feel like Malik plays that way. He's more of a pass rushing DT, more of a one gap penetrating defensive tackle as well. We see our defensive line struggle against the run. Do we already have him, though, on the roster? Like, that's the question, that we have a guy that does what he does. Love Norman Lott, though. I've been raving about him since the Senior Bowl. I just like his energy. It's energy for me. That's what you're going to get. You talked about the high motor. You're going to get energy every play.
Yeah. So, and yeah, as people mentioning, like, not going to be that space eating guy, like we said, like not going to be that strong in the run game. He'll probably be a rotational guy, but a really good one for like, those pass rushing downs and whatnot. Speaking of, you got TJ Sanders as well from South Carolina, who's similar mold,
thing.
Right?
Yeah, same mold. Yeah. 290. You know what I'm saying? 290. Not the space eating guy again, but definitely can be disruptive in the pass rush. I know most importantly we're trying to stop the run, but the thing I like about him is his first step and his ability to diagnose when it's a run. I feel like he finds ways to get skinny and slip through that block, and he's in the backfield. Like I think his tackles for a loss are a lot higher than Norman Lott's. So I feel like I have an edge on TJ Sanders out of South Carolina over Norman Lott, in my opinion.
Yeah, over the past 2 seasons, he's had 17 tackles for losses. Some pretty good numbers there. 8.5 sacks, 60 pressures, and 54 run stops. So he's not a slump against the run either. What I liked with him in run defending is that he sheds his blocks in a timely manner. Like he'll kind of be with you and make you think you got him, and then like as soon as the play's coming to him, he'll discard you and he'll get that tackle, So that's something I really liked. I think he has a lot of strength as well, hands to get around guards one-on-one in pass rush. So definitely liked what I saw from TJ Sanders. Not bad at all. All right, let's get to the next guy here. All right, so we got Wyatt Millam. And I like Wyatt. I mean, another guy who was at the Senior Bowl, and that was kind of like my first introduction to him. And it was a really good first impression, So I think this could be an option for the 49ers. Again, like good tackle in college, but he does have shorter arms, so maybe he is a better guard in the NFL. I see him as like really strong. He can impose his will, especially when he's on the move. He's quick to the second level, quick as a puller, which I think is obviously what 49ers look for in offensive linemen. And, I watched his game against Penn State and he held his own against Abdul Carter. So I think that says a lot about him. And so, yeah, I think he's going to be pretty good at the next level.
Another offensive line prospect that the Niners definitely should be intrigued by. I didn't think his Senior Bowl was as great as some of the other guys. I'm not saying it was weak, but when you go and put on the tape, you go and put on the film, you see that he's a good offensive lineman. And it's funny because I'll have him. I like the Grant kid, but I have him higher than Grant, and so like I feel
Yeah.
like they're kind of like similar in their styles of playing. But as far as if he does play tackle, I mean that would be great. But I think he'll be kicked into maybe left guard or whatever. But the key to 49ers offensive linemen is versatility. And we got to stop thinking
true.
that we got to you get the best versatile guy, because if you look at what the Eagles did, they got guys that shifted all over the offensive line. They drafted Cam Jurgens as a center, and he ended up playing guard. And then once Kelsey retired, he went to center. So like that's what the Niners. And to be fair, that's what the Niners have been doing. We just haven't been getting those right pieces. I think Dominic Pooney might have been just the best left tackle. You don't play with. You get the best left tackle, period, in the discussion, and right tackle as well. But there's some guys, man. There's a lot of guys I think that will fit the San Francisco 49ers from the offensive line. That's why I don't think offensive line is the priority at least in the first round. I don't think it's priority.
I don't think so either. I think the 49ers can find good value as we've seen in the past. And sometimes those guys take more time to develop, and sometimes you do get a Pooney, right? So
yes.
If you can get another Pooney, get an entire line of Poonies, it'd just be great. But we'll see what happens with the 49ers. I do agree. I think like a better guard is easier to come by than like a really good tackle. Like tackles are so hard to find.
Very.
Yeah,
that's spot on, Steph. Because you literally got to stand out and be that tackle. This is not the draft for that. Like it's just not.
Yeah.
This is the draft to fight. Even like everybody likes Calvin Banks Jr. I mean, there's 9 times out of 10. If let's just say the Bears draft him because they need to go offensive line. If the Bears do draft him, they'll probably kick him into guard right away. But the fact that he has the ability to be a tackle and play tackle is what gives them that high upside. So I think the Niners have been doing that. They just haven't been hitting. And they hit on Pooney. And I think that's the start. And so we got a Pooney. Let's find the next Pooney. Right? Let's find the next guy that can do that.
A line full of Poonies, man.
Line full of ponies, man. Give it to me.
All right. So the next guy is Notre Dame tight end Mitchell Evans. And I kind of felt like this was a deep cut. Like I haven't heard about Mitchell Evans that much.
Injuries. Yeah.
But when I watched him, I was like, okay, like this kid's pretty nice. Like he's a really good blocker, and he's got hands too. Like so that's something that I feel like he could be a pretty good value. I also feel like he was maybe underutilized, and you mentioned injuries kind of hurt his stock a little bit, and people talked about him. But look at he's got good hands. And I got a couple clips for him because no one made a big montage of Mitchell Evans, but
yeah, I mean, there wasn't much to make of him. Not from this year. You would have had to go back.
Yeah.
But listen, the injuries are setting him back. He'll be good value if you draft him later. He's a sleeper. So for the Niners, this would be a perfect fit too. Be a perfect fit for the Niners. You can see 6'5", 260. Give him to me, right? Let's see how well he runs. We already know he can block well. Now the Niners, if he falls under the cracks, now if he tests through the roof at the combine, it's a wrap. If this guy can jump, it's a wrap. If this guy can do anything athletic-wise, oh, well, we done missed out on him because now you're going to have to spend on him.
He looks athletic. He does.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Look at that one-handed behind-the-back catch. Like, that's some Harlem Globetrotter stuff right there. Mitchell Evans, Spencer Halls, they're in that same type of category, right? Like, they're in that category. I like Terrence Ferguson, too, from Oregon. They would all fit in this tier right now. But if you're going to go, tight ends, this draft has some tight ends. It depends on which type of tight end do you want.
I agree. And yeah, Mitchell Evans is more of the inline blocking guy. He can catch some balls for you, but I think for the most part, that would be his role at the next levels, which I think that's what the 49ers are looking for. Now, Wayne, I told you that I was going to have a a bonus, right?
He's my number one receiver, though.
I did watch Luther Bird. I know this is not like a sleeper by any means, but seeing people talk about Luther Burden a little bit more as it pertains to the 49ers, because obviously he's like a wide back. So people look at him and it's like, he's the next Debo. He needs to be on the 49ers. But here's my argument. And before I say my argument, I'll just say this. I really like Luther Burden's game. Like, yes, the yak is off the charts. He's super athletic. I mean, there's not much that you wouldn't like about him. Super versatile. Like, you could just imagine what Kyle Shanahan could do with him in the offense, right? My thing is, I don't know if the 49ers need another Debo. Like, we were just kind of talking about that earlier, right? Like, so that's my thing. I wouldn't be mad if they got Luther Burden in the first round, because they would have to get him in the first round, right? Like, we know that. But, like, I just don't know if that's the direction I want them to go with the wide receiver room.
I respect that. I don't think that they're looking for another Debo, though. Like okay,
Yeah,
so because Luther Burden isn't Debo. He's not even like Debo. Like they're two different types of. This is a wide receiver that can get open and win with moves. That's not Debo. And it's not a shot at Debo. That's not what he does. You can't line him up in the backfield. You can do these things but I think he does fit Kyle Shanahan. I think
absolutely.
Kyle is all about, can you do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Can you do, yeah, that's Kyle Shanahan. Like, that's what he wants. My issue is with him is he's not built like Debo, so I don't want him running the ball out of the backfield a lot, right? It's not college, it's the NFL. Like, I feel like that messed up Debo a little bit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Putting on the weight, taking off the weight, putting on the weight, like that messed him up a lot, in my opinion, being a wide back, being this, being that. So I don't think Kyle goes that route. I think Kyle goes wide receiver, and I think he's really – this is why Kyle's going to the daggone combine. If he goes, this is why he's going to be there. He's looking for another wide receiver. I can tell you that right now. You got my man Juwan Jennings on the last year of his deal. Not saying he won't get extended, but we don't know. Like, you don't know where the Niners are going to go. You draft another wide receiver. You got to get him in round one, though. He's going to – I got him going early, like top 10, maybe top 15, easy. He's going to be probably the first or second wide receiver off the board, because people might like T-Mac a little bit better because he's bigger body, yak guy, can create separation. So people might go T-Mac from Arizona, So this is going to be interesting, though. Like,
It'll be interesting.
But there are guys that I like at wide receiver. I really feel like get Jalen Noel, get a Jaden Higgins, get a Trey Harris.
I like Trey Harris. Yeah,
there's so many.
Savion Williams.
Get Savion Williams is 6'5", 225 pounds, and if that kid could run a 4.4, he's going first round.
And if what you're looking for is someone who could occasionally, get the end around and things like that, Savion could do that, and he did it with a lot of success. And as you mentioned, he has the size to do more. So
he can win contested catches. He has a higher catch radius. He runs a better route runner. And if he runs a 4.4, he's going round one. So for people that are new to the combine, the 40-yard dash is for two positions: wide receivers and cornerbacks. Like, that's what that drill is for. They want to see how fast he's at. If wide receivers want to really boost their stock, they got to run fast. Look at Xavier Worthy. The dude ran through the roof, literally out the gym, became a first-round pick, and ended up being – he won the Super Bowl last year. Didn't he win the Super Bowl?
Who?
No, Worthy lost the Super Bowl this year.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But he went to the Super Bowl his rookie year.
Speed is something that I think teams are looking for, and not just like they're okay with taking someone who's super skinny and small, doesn't fit like the NFL prototype. They're more comfortable. No, I'm saying the NFL in general. I think is becoming more comfortable with taking guys like that. Like, we were just talking about, the guy from Oregon, right, at the Senior Bowl.
Tez Johnson. My God, he's uncoverable.
Like, right, exactly. So it's like, who cares? Who cares?
He's 158 pounds, though.
But
who cares? If he can't get touched,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
now, will he be a blocker? Nah, I'm not putting his little ass out there to block. But that might be why Kyle stays away from him. But again, we might be seeing the shifting with the 49ers. I'm all for it.
I don't know if the 49ers will make that shift, but I think in the NFL in general, like
Okay.
I'm seeing that. And Jacob Cowing was kind of, he's small.
Yeah.
He's super small.
Yeah.
And he's got that speed. So maybe that was, Kyle's shift. I don't know. But yes, we definitely need to see more of Cowing this year. But I still think they are going to draft a wide receiver. It's going to be interesting. Now, guys, give us some names in the chat who you want us to watch this week. All right. And then we'll report back. Actually, next week, I'm going to be out. So won't do a show next week, but the following week. So I'll have plenty of time to watch some guys. And then it'll be post combine too. We should split it up. Let's do it.
Okay. We could split it up.
We might get a lot of names. So, and while we were doing the show, a lot of you guys mentioned a bunch of other names that I definitely Chase Lunt.
I love Chase Lunt. I love this kid, right tackle.
I love Chase Lunt.
Let's talk about him. Out of Connecticut, I've been saying this could be a dope kid for the offense. He's gonna play tackle. You're not kicking him in the guard. Well, it depends on his arm length, but I don't care. He can move. He's probably gonna run that 10-yard split the best.
That's what I'm saying. Like
it's gonna be the best.
His stock is about to.
Hold on, I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I'm worried about, because like right now, mock drafts, like you're looking at him a super value pick, right?
Mm-hmm,
but I think after the combine, his stock's gonna go way up.
6'8", 300 pounds, and moves like a ballerina. You give it to me, baby. Those are the freaks that you want.
He's so good.
Not to call him a freak. I didn't mean to call him a freak, but you know what I mean.
No, he's a freak.
Yeah, unicorn.
On the field.
That's the better word for freak, right? Unicorn. Like those are the players.
We knew what you meant. No diddy over here.
I know. Okay, I'm just saying. You know.
But yeah, and then we'll open it up on Twitter as well if you guys want to give us some names. Do it there as well. Now, as far as my draft sheet goes, I did a major update where the link, the URL is way more accessible. So now it is bit.ly.
Bitly.
Yeah, Bitly. It's Bitly. And what's the second part of it? It's 49ers draft tracker. Is it 2025 or hold on, I'm trying to see the full. I can't see the full thing. I'll tweet it out, but major fail by me right now. But yeah, so I've condensed the link, so it should be easier to find now. But all right, make sure you guys check that out. Like I said, going to be out next week, but the draft sheet still will be updated. We're going to get so many updates throughout the week, combine week. So make sure you guys check that out. Man, make sure you subscribe, not just to my channel, but Wayne as well. Wayne, what are you at for like subscribers? Because I saw like, is TikTok. You got like 10,000.
Yeah,
right?
we reached 10K awesome. On TikTok, man. Shout out to everybody. Thank you for making that happen.
That's awesome.
And let's grow this YouTube channel. Let's grow this YouTube channel right here. Let's get Steph's channel up there, man. She's doing a tremendous mother freaking job out here covering the 49ers. I saw some chats in here earlier. Steph, stop selling yourself short. You are great at what you do, and I truly appreciate the invite to be able to grace, be in your presence right here on this show. So I'm excited. And make sure I get this Bitly link because I'm a firm believer in supporting you and what you do. You put a lot of hard work into it. And thank you for teaching me how to use Google Slides and Google Sheets. You have taught me, right? And that's crazy because that shows us the difference in our generation, right? Like I grew up using Microsoft bull crap and you just took it to Google and now I'm a fan. I can't get off. It's like crack right now. Google is king.
Canva's where I do my slides.
Canva's where you do the slides. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna need a tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
I need a tutorial.
I got you, man. But yeah, I'm so excited to have you joining the show this off season, and we're gonna have so much fun talking about the draft. Like I'm just so pumped for that. These next couple months are gonna be so much fun, and I'm excited you guys are all joining us here for it as well. So that is our show for today. Make sure you like this video. Like I said, subscribe to both channels. Audio listeners, follow the podcast as well. Leave us a rating, leave us a review. Really appreciate that. But for now, have a good rest of your Friday, folks. Peace.